Wait about 5 minutes before we start the meeting.
Technically, we don't have a quorum right now. That's what we're checking into.
But we can still have discussion.
We will have discussions.
We just can't
Won't
vote on
be-
anything.
We can't make any decisions without a quorum.
We get from Aaron.
No.
Now she's looking at Robert's Rules of Order.
Oh.
To see what it says about a
Pat?
quorum.
Oh, do we accept Robert's
Yes, we
rules?
did.
So-
I found it in the minutes.
We
today.
did?
Yeah, very
What's
first
that?
meeting.
Okay.
I did not know we had either.
I'd forgotten whether we did or not.
Well, yeah, this was July of 21.
Mhm.
That's just the one. Mhm.
Passed
Yeah.
unanimously.
Yeah, I remember that.
But we can update the public
Right,
on
the
what's
public
going
will know
on.
Yes, we
what's
can.
transpiring.
Okay.
Let me see the agenda you published. I had it in my head. I had it in my head.
She hasn't texted back yet.
Oh,
Erin, so we'll see if she could come. She has not officially stepped on.
thank you.
Okay.
Did you find anything?
Mm-mm. Okay, here it is. It's been broke. Oh my God.
Can you ask a question?
Ask it on my phone.
Oh.
Yeah, it doesn't text me. Oh, Erin texted me back. She said she's on official member. She said she wasn't an official member.
Hmm?
Erin said she was an official member.
I don't, we never accepted any resignation.
No, we didn't.
And that's part of Robert's Rule of Order, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Mhm.
Okay. While
You
we're
called the
waiting on-
meeting, go ahead.
Yeah, let's go ahead and call the meeting to
Okay.
order.
Are you ready, Teresa?
Okay, one of the, well, we can't really vote on anything.
No,
Because of the quorum situation. We have one that may show up here. So what we can do is discuss where we are and where we plan to go, hopefully plan to go. I know with the Baker Tilly, do you want to update on the Baker Tilly of where it's gone through council to commissioners?
Yes, what we had to do with, Baker Tilly is a CPA consulting, acted the authority on the ARP in the state, and basically to have them do work for the ARP, to just look over documents to make sure that we're legal and all that. That if we can use ARP funds to do that rather than general fund money to do that. We had to amend our plan, the commissioners did, and we did that at our last meeting, and then it has to be appropriated up to 1%, which is,
37,000, I
right,
think.
37,000.
And-
That's on
and
as
the
needed
council had
basis.
gave tentatively approval of it, but next Thursday when we meet, we'll vote on paying that contract, which it should pass.
Vote on appropriating up
Appropriate
to,
up to
up to
the
amount, not paying them amount.
No,
But and what, you gotta be clear too, the county would have hired Baker Tilly anyway. They're on retainer for us, and we would have paid them. The only difference here is that this money will come out of the ARP money, to pay them for ARP, ARP, stuff rather than out of the general fund. So that's the only role that's different for Baker Tilly, which used to be Umball and Associates. I mean, if anybody's familiar with them, I mean, they're just a well-known. So that is the holdup, that getting the council to approve up to 37,000 out of the ARP money. We did get the second payment, the county did, so we have received all of the ARP money. I personally believe that we need to do all we can to get this money dispersed out. I mean, and still using our, going by our original plan. We just, since the money is in our account, we need to get it, what this committee decided, and the commissioners and council support that, and we just need to get the ball rolling. And that's one of the reasons why Tara called this meeting, was to get going, correct?
Yeah, because it's been stagnant for too long, in my opinion, and we've been waiting. We've got a lot of people that have done completed applications. There were some applications that were incomplete, but according to the criteria that we set forth in the application guide, you know, whether it be, if you're asking for a roof repair, you know, and you submitted an application, there was like an estimate that wasn't provided, so we can't really justify granting anything based on that. So those were a couple of instances. I think it's a shame that we don't have the other members here. It's unfortunate, because I think we could have approved those 5 that we did initially approve to be presented at council, so that they could go ahead and get funded. But, you know, as long as we have our 48-hour notice, maybe we can do it before then again, I don't know. The next thing, we talked about Baker Tilly. So where do we go from here? Essentially, once the council, I guess, blesses everything, and
They approved the additional
it.
appropriation.
Yes.
and that'll be next Thursday.
Next
It's
Thursday.
on the agenda.
We can really get rolling on this. I anticipate, and I think you guys have said this as well, we want to go back to the drawing board and look what everybody has submitted, and see if there's a way that, show you where you fell short, and resubmit, and then we'll get this going as quickly as possible. I don't think we have to go through it with a fine-tooth comb like we did before. I mean, it was about 44 applications, and it was a very daunting task, and I don't think that's needed right now, because we've got so much information that you've already submitted. So I anticipate, so the phase 1, what we did was the mental health, nonprofit and small business. And since then, I think I received another letter from Perry County about mental health.
Yes.
From the hospital?
From the hospital.
Okay, you said
Yes.
Perry County. You didn't
I meant
finish.
Memorial Hospital.
Okay.
You're supposed to speak on, yeah, you're supposed to
Right.
finish my sentence.
Right.
Anyway, so, you know, we've still got a couple of other things coming in. Plus, the state today just released information that they're going to have a grant program for mental health as well. So I don't know what that entails, so we're going to have to look into that also.
And we have to figure out if it's state or federal, and if we could use ARP money, which is federal money,
Right.
we need to
Right.
explore that. And just so one that haven't heard before, that Well, the general rule is you can't use federal money to, as a copay or matching for federal grants. But if this money, and that's a question for Baker Tilly, is
Right.
if this money, if the county has claimed this entire $3.7 million as a loss of revenue, so does that make it local money now, and we could be used for grant matches for federal grants, or is it still considered all federal money? That's a Baker Tilly question.
Right.
So a lot of the counties that I work with, they've already dispersed their funds. They've already claimed their loss of revenue, and they're already, writing checks
And
to
that's where
folks.
I would have liked to be.
Already done
And-
it. So,
And my comment about it, I feel like this board hasn't done its job because we're putting you guys through almost the COVID again, all this wait. And I apologize. We started out following the guidelines of the feds. They kept changing the scenario, we didn't. We followed through. Now, since the county has recouped all the money as a loss, I actually spoke with Baker Tilly a couple of weekends ago at the council in Bloomington, and they basically said, hey, it's a county money. I think that the hoops you have to jump through are going to be a lot less. I hope that we, as Tara said, that we can streamline it, make it quick and easy, and get it to you.
Now, we earmarked the first half of the and we have not earmarked the second,
Right.
the second amount that we were given. I personally like to see more going, I'd like to see some infrastructure aspects. And Tara, you have got some insight.
yes, I wanted to share, so for my role, I work in the engineering industry, and I'm also a grant writer. And I sit on a funding resources committee at in Indy. One of the things that's going to be coming down, it's going to continue to come down from the feds, is infrastructure, water, wastewater. One of the things I know that, like Antro was Troy, is it water?
Troy Township.
Troy Township was another one that had submitted. In order to apply for these grants, and I want to educate everybody on this because it's very confusing, quite honestly, if you're not in the business and understand it. So how you go after a grant, especially infrastructure grant, they're not going to hand out money unless they know what the scope of the project is. What is it going to be? What is it going to entail? Is it going to impact any environmental? And how much is it going to cost? And there's a few other things in there as well. So they get what's called a preliminary engineering report. And I'm not affiliated with any of this stuff with Antro or anything, so I'm just providing information. But they have to have this in order to submit. That report can take anywhere from 60 to 90 days, but it can be expedited. I've just since learned that there's some programs will be implemented the end of August. So we've really got to start thinking about that, and helping our utilities around here to get the water to the people that need it, because it is 2022 and there's not running water in some areas.
Yes, Keith.
I think it's pretty, I think it's wonderful that we've got fiber optic
Exactly.
in, I don't know, 95%.
Quite a bit.
Of the
Mhm.
county.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wonderful, I guess, that grandma and grandpa can, if they can have the grandkids come over and hook up a sensor, or on their cistern, it'll tell them when to get the pickup truck and go to town and get a load of water.
Right.
We
Right.
need to get running water through a
That-
lot more places than what we got it today.
Mhm.
There's too many people hauling water.
Oh,
Well,
absolutely.
yeah, and with that said, there's a lot of obstacles to that, and, we have a representative here tonight from Antro and Troy Township.
Who are those? You?
Just me.
Just you? Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
And the way I understand, Troy Township has got a preliminary engineering report,
Yeah,
but they lack
funding, yeah.
funding, or
Yeah.
there's another piece they need to apply for funding, beside the preliminary engineering report.
Their system needs some improvements
Mhm.
before we can do expansion. on
Exactly.
that system.
Yes.
And I happened to come across the emails that you had sent, like,
Okay.
this morning.
They need
That's
to
what
monitor-
prompted me to, like, I need to look into this really quick
Okay.
before our meeting. Because I know when the planning grants come out, you've got a short time frame to get them in, and then you go and apply for funding to get the design and construction of it. So I just want you to know, we do have that in mind. The phase one, like, it covered those other 3 areas. Phase two, I guess, was infrastructure, and then we had a
Mhm.
phase 3. But
We need to move, we got all the money now, we need to move on all of it.
absolutely, I mean, there's
I mean, that's,
counties that got both their tranches, and that's almost gone. And we haven't even
right,
distributed
and
anything.
we haven't, like Keith said, we haven't done anything with broadband, but I don't see the need in that in our county.
Absolutely not.
The need we have is running water and,
Internet.
but I still want to support some of the nonprofits that had no other way of, had no other means during the pandemic. Now, we don't, $3.7 million, would we have less than that now by the time we've taken chunks out of it? We can't put very many water lines in for $3.7 million, right, Jackie?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, so we can't physically put water lines in the ground.
Right.
And even if we spent the whole lot, it wouldn't go very far. But what we can do is preliminary engineering report and things so that you can apply for the big grants.
And the other thing is, with grants comes criteria. So, like Okra grants, and I don't know if you know this, but we've already done an income survey for that area, and it did not qualify because we could not get the responses.
For
And-
which area?
For Tobinsport area.
Okay.
That whole area, we had a big, huge
They just wouldn't answer the
footprint.
income report.
Well, and here's the other thing. So
Survey.
for low to moderate income, it has to be 51% or more. And I think the responses was somewhere around, I think we only heard back from maybe 28% of the people we sent it out to. So you also got to think about the people that own the homes and everything. They could live in other states or whatever, and if they answer an income survey and they're making millions of dollars, guess what?
Yes.
It puts an impact on the LMI, which is the low to moderate income. So that's an OKRA program. There's other programs through the State Revolving Fund, IFA, which are from the Indiana Finance Authority. There's WIFIA. There's a lot of, and I can talk to you later about all these programs. I know a lot about the programs.
Okay.
So getting back to that, I called the meeting. I think we owe it to you guys to let you know where we are with things.
That's what it is.
Okay. Also, what was the other thing? So even the Perry County departments within, some of them don't have updated computers, or, they may need something else, whether it's supplies or whatever. That might be a phase 3. We haven't really discussed that wholly yet, but I think we've got a good plan. I think revisiting the previous applicants moving forward,
Which we've already agreed to do that.
which we've already agreed to do that and not put them through the ringer like before. And I think that's, do you have
And
anything?
then I think, we had discussion, but didn't officially, among the committee, didn't officially approve, but I think the intent was the second round was to have some emphasis on infrastructure.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was actually already.
And we need to do that
That was
as soon as
decided
possible.
in our August meeting, when we broke everything
Yeah.
out. We separated funding for everything.
And we still didn't, we didn't earmark the money that we had already talked about for mental health. So there's still,
Right.
There's money.
Right.
so that's still there.
If you remember, we divided it up in 3 different sections. The mental health did not absorb all the money, so that can be moved. The other thing that I want to go on about is, one of the things that I did like about the original is one of 2 ways of asking for a grant. One would be lost profit, showing your lost profit. The other is a project that you could show in detail what this project's going to do to keep us God forbid that we never have another pandemic, but if we do, how that's going to help you not suffer as much in losses as you did prior to it. You know, it might be an air filtration system. It may be something like that. It may be expanding your building. That is a project that could advance you in the future in case we ever have the pandemic and we have to start shutting down or limiting. You can still operate your business.
But I will add on that, Charlie, we had those that, because they had a loss of revenue, they couldn't put on a new roof. Or they couldn't make improvements they couldn't add lights or fix their AC unit. If they have a loss of revenue, to me, that.
Right, and
That's-
what entities was hit worse, was it small business or non-for-profit?
Absolutely.
And and I'm gonna go back to one of my original statements is, $3.7 million seems like a lot of money, but I can guarantee you it will not fix a large portion of the problems in our county. And there's gonna be more disappointed people than there are gonna be happy people, because we just simply don't, $3.7 million is just simply not enough money to fix all the problems. So, between this committee making recommendations to the commissioners who approve the plan, and that's the way that and then the council approving the expenditures, I just hope everybody understands that there are gonna be people that are not funded because we just simply don't have enough money.
And Tom, the other thing is, we wanted to keep the 3-tier plan. Some counties, the county council made the decision. They didn't have the ARP committee, the commissioners were bypassed. Since it was finances, the council did it. We want the 3-tier where this board makes a recommendation to the commissioners for their okay to pass it on to the council for their okay for funding.
And then we had some resignations and issues. We contracted the community foundation to help us.
That
And-
was a big help
And Emily's on maternity leave
until August.
until August, and they've had personnel issues. We've had resignations within the council and the commissioners that have disrupted this committee. They call them excuses or reasons, but we need to move forward and
Definitely.
quit dragging our feet and get this money
And I was
out.
hoping for tonight that we would have a quorum here so we could get going, but unfortunately, we don't, so.
And, yeah, and so we could just use this for an informational. I mean, and I tell you, maybe we've talked enough, and maybe we need to get comments.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
We've got public
open it up to
comment.
you.
I wanna hear from you
From you.
guys and see, if you have questions about applications where you fell short. I did bring my list of the ones that I
But-
graded, so
But since this committee can't make decisions.
we cannot make decisions.
We could still use this meeting to gather thoughts and
Information.
comments from,
And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have this meeting, to come up with some of the questions that once we do okay that Baker Tilly, that we have the questions to go ahead and ask them, so we're not dragging our feet longer.
I'd love to have this money earmarked. Use the word
By
earmarked.
the end of August. Is that too soon?
Yeah, in August, it's too soon. September is what I was hoping,
Yeah,
September, October. But we need to
And I
move
think we
forward.
should told these people that last year. So,
And I'm not real great with names, and Jim, you've been here every meeting, and you've got a great cause, and if you've got a comment, you're welcome to comment.
Quick question, why does that CPA people, why do they get money out of the ARP people?
To pay for their services.
It's for
What's wrong with the
consulting.
general fund?
Well, that's up to the council. The council can,
okay, I'm sort of lost on the question.
why would there be money taken out of the ARP to pay Baker Tilly as opposed to taking it out of the general
Okay,
fund?
Because the way they bill, and it's set into the thing with the feds that we can use some of that money, a percentage, to help us. The county, we're strained on the money situation. We have a contract with them. They would have probably answered the questions, but this way they could bill directly to the ARP. Now, remember, we said 1%, which is the max is $37,000, okay? They're going to charge us hourly on our questions. So that's why we have to develop a contact person. That person will be the only one that contacts them to ask them the question. And as I said, we don't want somebody to call every day with a question. Come up with a few questions at a time, ask them, have them get back while they do the research.
Minimize the amount.
Yeah, right, the cost. Very possible, we may not spend half of that. That's the total amount that can be spent if needed. Hopefully, we won't have to.
Okay,
Did that answer your question?
close enough.
Huh?
Yes, it did, yes.
Okay, all right.
Everything's fine.
Do we have any more questions from
Comments.
anybody?
I mean, this is, since we can't vote on anything, this is a prime opportunity. Anybody has something to say, questions would be a great time.
And we went through one meeting and we got griped out. If you have a gripe, go ahead and do it.
Brad, you got-
We're big people.
Vent away.
So, Anderson Township Fire Department, nonprofit, we have a loss, et cetera. Looked into doing this, I don't know if we really actively had an application or not.
I don't see
No,
it.
we didn't get one. The only fire department was Troy.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
And see, and there was a situation where we had, like Tell City or Cannleton, they could not apply at this time.
Because they're a municipality.
They're a municipality. Troy, the county fire departments.
But they were told that they should apply.
Yeah, we thought that later on down the road, we would have something government and all that would fall under that umbrella. I do know that I think Anderson Township is going to file an application for a project.
Are you here with Anderson Township? You wear a lot of hats, Brad, and I didn't know what you were here for.
We didn't know if it was the soil and water
Yeah,
or.
Today, I'm Anderson Township Fire.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But hearing an emphasis, and I hope I haven't got sidetracked here,
Mhm.
we're in the process of reestablishing or rebuilding our building in Bristow. With this, we're having trouble getting funds for it, okay?
Mhm.
And it's been delayed because of obvious reasons, and many of them associated with everybody else's problems and all.
Mhm.
Would this money and the emphasis that you've described here tonight fit better to helping us complete that project? Obviously couldn't be done, but can we apply for some portion of it to go towards renovating and doing that for the actual structure in Bristow? Or would you prefer, would the money be, or the application be better emphasizing equipment?
My personal opinion is both.
What is
I
the
would
building-
put something in, and now, and it may be able to be funded partially, both of them partially, one of them partially and one of them not, depending on the other applicants. But it would fall under the non-for-profits, because I know how Anderson Township's structured.
Mhm.
It is a non-for-profit 401c3, or 501c3.
501c3, right?
Yeah.
What would the building be renovated for?
Well, we have a pumper truck and we have a tanker there, but we're wanting to add another tanker, and possibly, we've had talks with Steve Hauser about making, from what I understand, a bay for a
Rescue.
rescue truck.
Right.
Okay?
And
Again,
you're talking about the new one in Bristow?
that is correct, yes.
They
Mhm.
want to build a new fire department, building in Bristow.
We've acquired the land, we've got engineers looking at it, we've got Cash and Wagner answering some questions about floodplains and things like that. You know, this project.
You jumped through those hoops.
There are
Right.
grants for that.
You know, yes, but, yeah.
And there's grants for equipment too, through Assistance to Firefighters grants.
Yeah.
program.
Right.
FEMA.
That's very
Yeah, I'm sure
competitive.
Steve.
Yeah, we've
is
attended
helping
a
them.
seminar in the last couple
Yeah.
of weeks
Mhm.
on those as well.
Okay.
Mhm.
But again,
I don't think there's anything wrong with doing both, you know, and I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that they both would be funded, because we don't know what other applicants would be in. I think it's a very viable application was one thing during the COVID, a lot of the funding, because I've been involved with Anderson Township in Central Perry, a lot of the funding mechanisms were cut off during COVID. I mean, you couldn't have your chicken cooks and your,
Yeah.
Yeah, we suffered, but again, everybody did. So
Fundraisers
yeah.
and such.
right.
Precisely. And we've been promising this structure down in Bristol for years. And
Yeah.
it's just taken so long, and we've made some great strides. We're going to do this. How much we're going to have to go in debt and suffer
Well-
through that and all that. FEMA grants have not been forward. We made it to the second round with the FEMA grants on the last one that we did.
Really?
But there's some things about FEMA grants that, I'm sorry, maybe I shouldn't have been writing them or whatever, but I failed to do some cute little quirks. Everything was there, but I didn't
Well,
break the
and I'm
numbers.
just gonna put out, I mean, and this is an observation, and maybe an accurate one, and that after 9/11, FEMA grants were very lucrative.
Uh-huh.
And they became less and less lucrative as other important happenings happened around the world. I mean, I remember, and I know Anderson Township done well on one of them, and that was right after 9/11.
There's actually two, I think, we got again, right
Yeah.
after 9/11.
And
Since then, we've not gotten the same
It's-
kind of response following the same formula, so.
Exactly.
Two of our members went to a seminar to kind of bring us up to speed on that, and that helped us out a little bit, so. I mean-
Right, and you just, sometimes with these federal grants, you have to strike while the iron's hot. I mean, that's just,
Yeah, and they're not doing buildings now. That's
Right.
not in that's not their points of emphasis, and that's kind of why I was asking you whether or not one or the other would be.
I can't answer, I'm one opinion.
Sure.
And in fact, the matter is, I mean, of the board which makes recommendations to the commissioners can totally ignore what the committee says, but probably won't.
But you
And then the final word is the council. The council has the final word, whether they.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
they hold the
how
purse
it
strings.
works.
But you are expecting an application.
Right, so I can't sit here and answer what the rest of this committee, or the other two commissioners, or the 7 council. So I would
Fair enough.
encourage writing a good application.
One thing
for
that I
all.
tell everybody, like, especially when you're writing your own grant, is telling your story. It is so important. Be very descriptive in your purpose and your need. It's not just a building. What is it going to impact? Who are going to be those beneficiaries? Who's going to, having another truck out there could help eliminate a fire here or here? Are there going to be new homes built in the area? Perry County's trying to get homes, some housing out. That's something to really hone in on, because when you acquire new residents, that's going to be up to you to service that area. So that might be something to include in your narrative.
We make quality of life, which leads to people wanting to invest in homes in the area, and that goes back to the infrastructure. You can say, well, I'm not the one that built on a road that doesn't have water. Yeah, but if you have water there, then that will encourage people to build and invest in those areas. So, and fire protection.
And unfortunately tonight, since we don't have a quorum, we can't, discuss the kind of questions like, when we reopen this, are we going to open up that same system we use?
I'm gonna be an advocate for making it simpler. That's
I am too.
my-
I think, because I think a lot of people did a lot of groundwork. I think that
I just think we
we
review
expected
what they
way
have.
too much from organizations
Why
that
they
are not
gotta do
grant
that again?
writers.
No, I mean.
And I
for additional-
realized that once
new
I
ones,
started
yeah.
grading these. And in my mind, I was worried that I was cutting people off at the knees the way I graded them, and then we didn't even use the grading system. So,
No, and I can give you an example of a couple that when I was reviewing it, there's one on here that it was a church. They asked for a certain amount. They really scored a little bit high, but they didn't supply a quote because they wanted to get like a roof or something like that. So it didn't justify, but I didn't say not to fund them. I just lowered the funding amount, in my opinion. That's what I had put. So I think we all need to get on the same
Right.
page on how these are gonna be evaluated, what the criteria is gonna be, and, you know,
And we had 49 applications, and 41 of them were thrown out. Because we set a standard at the very beginning, and once we set that standard, we had to follow through all the way through.
To be
It wouldn't
fair.
be fair to everybody.
Hmm.
And I made this comment, after that meeting, I was sick,
But the standard
Oh,
was
I got
set,
sick
and maybe we
myself.
need to set the standard a little different.
differently. And now, since those guidelines are no longer involved, we can. But like I said from the beginning, we were following the standards that the Fed set up.
yeah, I
because-
mean,
And that changed every
Every
day.
day. And
Now I
the
think
reason
it's
we were
calmed
doing that
down.
was, if we violated that, we would have to pay that money back. And we did want, you know, we were overly cautious about this money. That we wanted to make sure we did it right. Every T was crossed and every I was dotted, so that it didn't come back to bite us later on.
Now the regulatory part has eased up, so we'll be
Right.
able to, but we want to get going. Yes, sir?
Boy.
Brian?
Right.
So, my first meeting, can you just tell me, kind of recap the money you've been given, and then you've earmarked a certain amount, and then.
do we want them to come up here? Do they need to, can you come
Yeah.
up here, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you. And
Yeah,
what's your name?
Brian Herwig with the hospital. I'm
Okay, thank you.
wondering if you could tell me how much you got. It sounds like you've earmarked some and you're waiting for some process with
Yeah, you have
Baker
those
Tilly.
numbers there.
And then
Uh,
the money, and then how much is left in, are there applications for this other bucket, or?
We haven't opened the applications yet, but there
Okay.
is, okay, we got, I'm not-
Nonprofit, we set aside 350,000.
out of the first
Out of the
reimbursement.
first.
We had 1.2 million that we set aside and broke it down between the three. I think mental health was 500,000 and
has the numbers
nonprofit
on it.
and small business was 350,000.
500,000 for mental health, you're
Okay.
correct.
That was out of the first bucket.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
that's the 1.2. That's all we're dealing with right now.
And
No, we got the others in
350,000.
Yeah, but
Correct.
we're not talking about that money. That money's not involved in this.
Okay.
We're still page one.
I want to move on to phase two.
Well, I do too.
That's-
I'd like to
So
get
is there
page
When we
one
get
point,
all- how much was the
1.2
second?
Is
This-
there 1.2 in phase one and then more in phase two?
It was
Yes.
1.2 and 1. Okay, so we had, what was it? Where did I just say?
The second, and without seeing the number in front of me, I'm thinking 1.8.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
350,000 for nonprofit,
And 354.
350 for
Small
small business, and 500,000
Right.
for
That's-
mental health.
That was the
behavior.
1.2 breakdown.
Right, but then we got another reimbursement in our bank account, another.
Right, we got the second year. It was
Disbursement,
divided
I'm
up to
sorry.
2 years.
Okay, okay.
So the first year, we got almost 1.8. Second year, I think it was like 1.67, something
The
like that.
total was 3.723354,
Okay.
So
Okay.
have you asked, so you've only asked for applications for phase one?
phase one.
Right.
That's one.
Okay,
That's
so
all
that'd be another.
We still need to
application.
disperse out the second
Right.
Okay,
disbursement that we got.
okay.
Will
And then,
your second disbursement be also revisiting nonprofits and small businesses, or
Yeah,
you're moving on to a
absolutely.
different?
I think so.
It will include?
I hope so. But that decision hasn't been made.
Because
That
we've
hasn't
told
been
them if they
discussed.
didn't get it in phase, in round one, they could come to round
Yeah.
two. We did tell them that.
Right. I got my
Round one didn't go
idea.
the- Brad, round one didn't go the way we thought it was gonna go. We thought we were gonna have the money out. And then all these technicalities came up.
Without the committee here, I can't answer how much will go to mental health out of the second bucket, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.7. And we've already got that in the count, so we need to get it out. So we need to get phase one done and move on and figure out how much we're going to do with phase two.
I mean, my goal initially was from this meeting, had we had met, had a quorum, we could have added something to the agenda for the council to approve the 5 that were already approved and go ahead and get those checks going, plus maybe even the appropriation for like the PER or for infrastructure, rather, just to set it aside.
Again, this is just a discussion, we're not making any decisions, but I think one of the thoughts were that they wanted Baker and Tilly to look at the ones we had already approved
Yes.
to make sure that
Yes.
we did that right, that wasn't gonna come back on us. Don?
I have a question. Brad was just asking, are you going to readdress the three groups that, on the initial, but what are the other groups that you may include with that?
Infrastructure.
Is that the only thing?
It might be government,
That was gonna be phase 3 was government.
phase 3 of government, so the next one would probably be the infrastructure,
Mhm.
and I'm assuming we'll look at, because even with the 1.2, and what we have left over right now is like, I'm thinking somewhere around 900,000 for the group that didn't get any money. That's still not enough to fund everything that's been asked for, okay? So, I'm hoping that.
Well, we have a time frame to spend this money and for the projects to be.
Right, it's
you
way
know,
after though.
it's-
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't need to
So is
wait.
it 2 years from the day you receive the money? Is that what I've heard? That you spend the money, that you have to spend the money?
No, is it 27? That
It's-
it has to be,
It's 26 because they have to be allocated
right.
already.
As long as we allocate the money by the end of 26, we're okay. That's like if we
I'm
have
pretty
a
sure it's
contract.
26.
And we're more or less looking at maybe the infrastructure. Let's say we've got something that's gonna be built, water. You know, we can't get to it right now.
Right.
As long as we have a contract with a price, we can okay that. And if it goes into 27, they're fine. The money will still be there.
And
But
that's-
at the end of 26, if we don't have it allocated, we're supposed to send it back.
Right, and that's what we gotta make sure that we got, and I'm gonna go back to the water and the infrastructure, since Antro Water will not be doing their own preliminary engineering report,
Correct.
that you'll be paying a firm to do that, then we wanna make sure that, that money is passed through to that firm correctly. And it can be done, and that's one of the advantages of using Baker Tilly, to make sure that, we don't, that all that is done properly, so the State Board of Accounts don't come back and say, oh, wait a minute, you couldn't do that.
Right.
You know, so we're going to have to pay it back. But we, you know, in 1% of the entire amount, I think is money well spent to make sure that we don't make a huge
And like I
mistake.
said, I don't think we'll even come close to spending that there. Hopefully that we'll get our questions answered, and we'll get it simplified and get it going.
You just don't need to make sure you don't ask the same question.
Exactly.
That's why
we want
Right.
one contact person, Keith. We don't want everybody on the board
Ask the
calling.
question you want.
Exactly.
Make none.
Exactly.
Oh.
Well, that's why we'll have one contact person.
The
Yes, ma'am.
first-
Yes, you mentioned earlier that like 49 was received,
Mhm.
and so many of them, like 41 of them was kicked out, whatever. Are you going to notify these places that
We have.
they have to
Yeah.
refile
They've been-
and
well,
what they did
They've been
wrong?
notified.
They've already been notified?
They should have
They
been.
should have received a letter stating that they,
One way or the other?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, there was an email that went out.
Yeah.
I think it
But-
came from Greg at that time.
I know.
They were notified that they weren't eligible, but are you guys gonna re-notify, or is their application still good, or we might?
No, we want them to go back and look at their applications again. I mean, I think we owe it to them to get a debrief and let them know where they fell short.
And correct the thing.
Loss, I mean, you're talking net loss or gross loss?
We talked about net loss in our last, well, 3 meetings ago.
I went to the fairgrounds, so we took a major gross loss. And our
Right.
volunteers just, you know, we quit spending money, so our volunteers did the work, which actually made us show a little bit of net profit.
Well, I'll give you another example. The Leopold, I think, Conservation Club.
Conservation.
They had members paying utility bills, and we had one of the members say, no, that's considered income. No, it's not income. It was a donation. Yeah, it might be considered income, but
They consider
still-
it income even though it came from its own members, which,
they had to keep the lights on, they had to keep the water on.
Right.
And I think it needs to be looked at rather than just a calculation. I think it needs to be looked at a little bit more.
I know we put in for LED lighting.
Yeah.
And so
Because-
our main arena events to our fair is our major income.
Yeah, because to your argument, I mean, if COVID didn't happen, you would have had that revenue to do your lighting.
You had another
And that's
fair.
that's how I see it.
You would have had another
Motocross
fair.
This year, through the middle of motocross, our lights went
Right.
black.
So
We
that's,
had crowds sitting there half hour waiting for lights to reset.
yeah.
Luckily, the race was stopped. Had the race been going and the lights went out, it'd been a huge liability
Right.
on our fairgrounds part too. So.
Yeah, and like I said, the answer to your question, I hope, is that everyone should have gotten notification, and if it wasn't clear why it was turned down, let us know and we'll make sure it's clear, and then you give the opportunity to correct those shortfalls and reapply.
One of the big reasons a lot of them were disallowed was because we were going by the profit loss, and we had to have a stationary, which was 2019, because, you know, we didn't
And
really
then someone's
have,
taking that for
we
county.
weren't affected by COVID that much. So that showed your bottom line. And then the next 2 years, wanted to see what your profit loss was compared to 19 to show that you lost.
And we
a lot
may
of
be,
people didn't provide that 19.
yeah,
Eric,
and
can you announce who the 5 are without saying dollar amounts, just the 5?
we can with the dollar amounts, I think we did.
Yeah, 'cause
We
we've
already-
County, William Tell Center, was it approved or denied?
I have
Don't
to
think-
look on that list.
Look on that list.
I'm looking in the minutes, because
Somewhere
we
in there.
approved.
The Historical,
We can and we did,
the Historical Society.
I just don't have it in front of me.
These ladies, they don't know where they stand.
Okay.
They got approved or denied.
Who are
One of them's
you?
William Tell
Donna?
Center, and the
William
other one's
Tell Center
Historical
and
Society.
Chelsea Historical Society.
William Tell, that was 17. I had it,
Mhm.
they were approved for $4,000.
Okay, that's what we heard.
And then what was the other?
Historical
Chelsea
Society.
Historical.
They got denied.
Tell City
I got the meeting minutes from when,
Historical Society, I think, was denied.
Are they gonna have to totally resubmit, or are you gonna contact them and tell them what they did wrong?
Right.
And to give them the chance
Right,
to,
Give them a chance. Yeah, we're not going to make them start all over.
Okay, that's
What they
what I'm
were
asking.
lacking, that's what we want provided,
Okay.
and we go from there.
they should have been provided what
Yeah,
the shortfall was.
yeah. And they,
Yeah.
oh,
So I have a question, Tara. If it was already approved and voted on
mhm,
by this committee,
mhm.
why do you have to have a quorum tonight if it was already approved and voted on?
I agree.
Why
Um,
can't that be taken to the council?
I think it could be taken to the council. We just can't make we can't make a motion
No.
No,
to
this
send it
committee
to
can,
council.
cannot make a recommendation or a motion,
At this time.
but the council has the authority to go ahead and,
So you guys can present that to the council.
Yeah, I've already sent a
because it's
message
already been
today
voted on and
Right.
approved.
to
Uh,
Pam to add this to
okay.
their agenda.
we had a red flag with one of the amounts that we all gave out, okay? And it was in mental health. It was a situation where a counselor was remodeling a room in a church. I threw up a red flag that night, and everybody decided, no, it was fine. And then later on, we started hearing that maybe we were wrong. That's the reason we wanted to get Baker Tilly to give us information if that's correct, if that's legal or not, that we can do that. That was the big red flag. And what I wanted to do tonight was that amount that we've already said we're giving out, let's put that to the side, let Baker Tilly decide what they want to do, you know, if it's correct or not. Let's open up the rest of it and let's go forward. And let-
Baker Tilly hasn't got back with you on an answer?
we can't do anything until next Thursday when we vote to, because we are not able to set up the contact person yet or come up with questions because we can't do that any business during this meeting. If we'd had a quorum tonight, we would have.
the plan has already been approved by the commissioners, and the council can appropriate the money if they choose.
But again, Keith, speaking as a councilman and you're on the board with me, I'm a little leery on that one until we hear exactly from Baker Tilly. I wouldn't want to go
You
out.
actually approved
This board has.
Pending review from the financial
Pending the
advisor.
review.
it.
from-
Are the rest of them in pending review too?
No, those were approved.
They were
According to our
approved and
minutes.
passed on, and this committee approved the 5, is it?
They approved
With the
all
one
5.
pending.
And they
Right.
approved the one Charlie's wanting to hold back.
And it's up to the
That's
council, and
actually
so
more
has
than
the
that. Okay.
commissioners
All right.
has approved the
All right.
plan. Listen, the commissioners have approved the
I
plan
got all of them
to
approved.
appropriate the money out to
There was
that. The
two
final step
small
is the
businesses.
council has to appropriate it to the individual that they get it. And they have chosen to wait until an opinion from Baker Tilly.
In
That's
this, there was three,
before they
so there was
approve
9 that
the,
were approved.
the actual disbursement
Okay.
of it.
But they only sent 5.
But where we go from here, from past and for good reason, we want to make sure that it's correct. I mean, I agree with making sure that it's correct and getting the opinion of
Council.
the experts that we're doing the correct thing. I'm not saying that was wrong to do, but we need to get moving on it.
Number 3.
Yeah.
We don't want to do anything wrong.
See, they're not
because we
on
sure
here.
don't have, once the money's gone out there,
2
it'll be
is.
tough getting it back.
Exactly. That's why,
It's gonna be hard to come up with the money to pay it back.
You're exactly right. If a mistake was made and the state comes down and says, oh, wait a minute, you couldn't do that, that way you didn't cross this T and you didn't dot this I,
okay, no,
then the county's on the hook
I'm
for the
sorry.
money.
We talked about 14
And that's,
and then went
that
up
would
to
be tough to come up with it. And
18,000.
that's when we'll make sure that
There
mistake's
are
not
On the
made.
museum, that they were eligible up to 18,000.
Mhm.
Then,
Who
William
was it?
Senior.
Who were you asking for specifically?
William Tell Senior Citizens.
Okay, I've got 12.5. Oh, no,
On
no,
number
no.
17?
Okay, hold on.
But the
17.
night
They
of the meeting of this
requested 50.
committee at the
They were given 4.
depot,
Okay,
the recommendation
now, let's
from
go
was to
to
approve and move that
16.
on to the next, and it went to the
Was
next
Perry County
step.
Chamber of Commerce.
They
Was that
requested
12.5?
97,
They got 12.5.
and they got 12.5.
Okay, Schweitzer Fest.
What number are they?
20,
24.
24.
They requested 55,
They
and
got
they got
25.
339.
They got what?
24,339.
Okay, I had 25,000. for
Well,
some reason.
that's
Okay,
fine.
Okay, and then Troy Fire Department was
The
the
5.
5.
Mhm.
Where I lost out was, okay, Youth First was 20,000, Life Springs 33.5.
Mhm.
We did not fund building blocks, and then the counseling, what did they come up?
Revive counseling.
And as soon as we get these figures, we'll.
We tabled
get
it.
them out. Okay, but I thought that we
Because of the
came back.
license.
But I thought we came back and
Indiana.
agreed to it later.
They have to have a clientele.
Are you going to go through all of it? Is that what you're
No,
doing?
we were just
No,
looking
we're
at the ones that
going
got
through the ones that
awarded.
we had. Okay. Do you want to do it?
What? Yeah.
Tell all of the
We
amounts
approved.
and the,
Okay, do small business, because there were 2 small businesses. Okay. Styles and assignment.
What number is that?
That would be 48 and 49.
48, 49.
I didn't review y'all's application. Was there a place on the application where it asked whether you had?
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Received any other
There you
funding?
go.
Yes, yes, that was one of the
And-
things
and-
that
That was
we
one of the
asked.
questions.
And whether or not you even applied for any. of the
Right,
funding.
yes, those were questions that were asked. Okay, the total amount that we have said that we're giving out is 262,500. And it was broken down in this, in mental health, I guess it's okay, the names and everything.
Yes, it was all, and this was
Yeah.
all,
Okay.
this was all reported at the meeting at the
Right,
depot.
okay. Youth First.
You're just recapping
The
it.
first three will be the mental health. Youth First, 20,000. Life Springs, 33,500. Revive Counseling Center is 75,000. That's the one. Knights of Columbus, 25,000. Perry County Chamber of Commerce, 21,000. Perry County Museum, 14,000. Telsey Schweitzer Fest, 25,000. Troy Fire Department, 5,000. William Tell Senior Citizens, 4,000. And then small business was Hawkey Auction Services of 20,000, and Stiles and Simon Incorporated, the Derby Market, of 20,000. So those were the ones.
Those were passed on to the council. This committee approved that as a recommendation to the council to, and that was in, what month was that?
April, I think?
Yes.
Yeah.
April, yeah.
And then we got the red flag and we put a stop to everything.
Yeah, April meeting.
Because we wanted Baker and Tilly to look at these applications and make sure we followed through.
And Teresa did confirm, we have to obligate the funds by 2024 and spend by 2026.
Yeah, they have to be spent by 2026.
Okay? So.
Thanks, Teresa.
So our intent is the applicants that were denied is to give the opportunity to look at them again, and then to open up for additional ones. That's been mentioned, but it hadn't been approved on exactly when. And then phase 2, which is the additional disbursements, the 1.6 something, I forget the exact number, but so all the money's in the bank, and we just need to get moving.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Did you have a question?
Yeah,
sir?
Gerald's been waiting.
That's fine. We had our 2019 taxes, 2020 taxes, and then we just not got back.
A lot of people didn't have their
2021.
2021.
We need to put them in there, or can we leave them out now?
If it looks like it will help you, I'll put them in there.
Okay.
I mean, that, to put it simply,
Answered my question.
yeah.
All I need, because we couldn't get our 21 taxes because we had to wait till June, July.
Right.
For our taxes.
My record, what I would say is get the stuff together and have it, because when we meet and finally come up with the game plan, you know, it may be easier.
And like Tara said, applying for grants, you want to paint the picture
Yeah.
as accurately and to your benefit as possible.
Right.
Whatever it takes. And to ask for, well, should we apply for, should we put this in there? That will have to be your decision, whether you think it's going to make your application look better. And I do know, like, and I'm going to use the example, community crossing grants. The state, NDOT did not want colored laminated booklets on the application, and they told that. So it didn't do the county any good to put that in our application for community crossing grants. This got nothing to do with ARP. It's just an example of applying for grants in general.
Right.
If you think it helps you and makes your cause look better, then I would put it in there.
No problem. And
That's,
plus you're talking about money lost and or sort of like a wish list that we need repairs for the VFW thing.
and if you can say, and it should be considered, it will be, in my opinion, as one of the committee members, if COVID slammed you
Yep.
and you, then yes, that's a viable.
Let us know how that impacted
Take some
you.
pictures.
Had you had revenue coming in, what would you have been able to do with that?
Right. We've got all that. I just want because we didn't have our 21 taxes in, but we get them now.
Yeah,
And remember also, yours was handwritten.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's already been taken care of already.
And that was hard to read.
Yeah.
when you
Well, then.
scan handwritten
Put it on.
information. Keith?
Question from the little lady here from the William Tell. She's a little shy, so I'll ask her a question.
I can't believe she's shy.
Her?
How can you
He gets a lot
justify,
less.
how can you justify the KC grant that doesn't have a building and the William Tell, which is going to be moving into a new building, in such a big disparity of amounts?
I'd have to look at each individual one. Well, that's a good question.
It is, without a doubt, it is.
Let me
a
see if
very
I
good
can answer
question,
that
And I
for
think
you.
that was a big debate that night.
Hey, what number was KFC? Let me see.
Which
what-
one?
KFC, what number was that?
Oh, I threw everything back in here. My filing system's up there.
Yeah, I didn't bring all that because I didn't think we was gonna discuss.
We got all kinds of good.
I got you covered.
Yeah, I didn't think we were gonna discuss all the applicants.
No, they're asking questions.
Okay.
I know, that's
See if it's on
fine.
this one.
Yeah.
Nope. These are numbers.
Yeah, and speaking of. Eligible, yes, score.
Yeah. I don't even. Okay. Give me a second.
Is there any other questions?
I think that,
Okay, what are we looking at? Okay,
11.
KFC
KFC.
is
11. She said it was 11.
11.
Yeah.
Didn't the KFC need infrastructure, or not infrastructure, but a building?
Yeah,
That
but they
part of
they
their-
actually closed
Yeah,
because
they-
of no income.
And they ended up having to sell their building.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was before COVID though, wasn't it?
2021
yeah,
is
they-
what we show is
Yeah,
closed.
when
When they sold, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
right.
They had to shut down. They couldn't pay their bills. They disposed of the property. They were eligible, and
What are they gonna use that 25 for? Did they say?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to try
I didn't
to
know what that
purchase
was.
a building from the city.
I don't have their application in front of me.
No.
I mean, I would have to, I mean, I would
I don't
be
have their
glad
application in front of me, no.
to answer, but it's hard to answer those questions without that stack of
I- I
applications
just-
in front of us.
So I didn't know if you recalled or whatever. I mean, wasn't trying to
I've
put you on the spot.
I've learned not to try to recall without it in front of me. It has bit me before. You know, unless I read
And
it.
you are getting up in age, so that memory's not as good.
Not as old as you, Keith. Since you brought that up.
Is there any other questions? Anybody else? So we'll know more after the council meeting on the 28th?
Yes,
Yeah.
and I don't see a reason why it won't move forward. But I will encourage any applicant that got turned down, if they don't feel like that they got an answer why they were turned down, please reach out and we will make sure you get that answer. I thought that they were
I
answered.
thought,
I saw the string of emails and
Yes.
I didn't read each individual one, but I thought everyone who didn't get funded.
Where do they need to email to?
What is the
One
email?
central email that they need to email to?
Do you have that? The
Yeah,
BCARP.
PCARPAC@perrycounty.in.gov.
and that comes to all of us,
And that comes to
correct?
all of us.
And then somebody will reply. Now, please don't expect that everybody reply. If Tara replies, usually I won't. But if I don't see a reply from her, I'll send a reply.
I thought Tara was the designated person to.
That was on applications.
On application.
Okay.
I would like to say, back when I got notification back in April, I immediately responded to that email address that you just.
I have a
gave.
copy of that email.
And I got a notification that it was undeliverable to that.
So that's-
So has that been changed?
Yes, we had a big hiccup there, and they have
Okay, I
since
just wanna make
resolved
sure.
that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I think Teresa made copies of your letters
And supplied them to
and
us.
sent them to us.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we do,
And I have your email.
Yeah, we've all seen the letter.
yeah.
Okay.
I have,
That's, hey,
And that
it's
was
very
another thing,
heartfelt.
and I said there was been some elected officials resigned and off the, and then one other hiccup is that we've had some email issues.
yes.
But those are resolved. everything's piled up and delayed everything, and hopefully we need to move forward.
I mean, I do know this committee, we want to get the money in the hands of those that need it. We do. It's just been, I mean, every time we turn around, the feds would change something else, or the emails would go down, or something with the applications, or it was just one thing after another. And this, this is our first go-around too.
Sure.
Other counties did it very simply, and
They did.
agree or disagree,
They did.
they put their,
A lot of unhappy people in those counties as well, I'm sure.
I'm sure there was, yes.
How quickly they
But-
did it.
I definitely want it to be very simplified the next time.
Right, because there was a neighboring county and it was their choice. They stuck a
Right.
big chunk of money in
Broadband. Or,
No.
4-H.
cattle barn for the 4-H.
oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, yes,
They
I
changed
I
that.
spoke
And
to the
that's,
commissioner today.
but that was their
Yeah,
decision.
the commissioners in
Everybody
Spencer
has their own
County
prerogative.
gave the 4-H, I think, $400 and some thousand dollars.
800 something.
Was it 800? Yeah.
Chris, you probably know that.
What's that?
How much Spencer County get?
I have no idea. There was more added to it from another account too, so.
Yeah.
They got way,
But also, they put a chunk of money in broadband, which we don't necessarily need because our broadband
Right.
And there's grants for
infrastructure.
broadband. We don't need to focus on that. We've already got like you said, we've already got a lot of the roadmap done for Perry County. As
Right.
far as with PSC, they've done an amazing job on handling that.
Gerald asked about the next meeting, and there was an email earlier regarding possibility of having a meeting after the council meeting, this board meeting after our council meeting next Thursday. But nothing's been decided on that. So
Okay.
basically, watch.
Okay.
And
If
Gerald,
it's not right after, it'll be a couple
you
of days.
can call
after.
me if a decision's made.
We'll make sure that it gets,
We'll make sure you get the information, we'll get it out,
okay.
so.
Yeah, and I don't know that meeting after the council meeting is a great idea.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter, whatever, but I want to meet, okay, as soon as possible.
I'm not sure I'm available that day.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I'm going to, I guess we'll,
No,
We
we
can
don't adjourn.
we don't
never
adjourn,
had
we're
a
just
meeting.
gonna leave.
Right.
Thank you all for coming.
I wish we
I hope we provided
could've
some
gotten more
information
done.
for you.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to see.